Welcome to Art Bytes. I'm Catherine Slogic, the Associate Curator of Education at the Marianna Kistler Beach Museum of Art. Today I'd like to share with you a work by Kansas artist Alan Shields. It's called Uncle Ferdinand's Voyage, or Route, and it is a color screen print with woodcut and collage made from handmade paper. Alan Shields was born in Harrington, Kansas in 1944. He attended K-State first as an engineering major, then theater, and then finally as an art major, but did not finish his studies at K-State. Instead, he burst onto the New York art scene in 1969. By 1973, his work was featured on the cover of Art Forum and in many museums and galleries. He was part of the post-minimalist movement, and post-minimalist artists usually use everyday objects, simple materials, focused often on the formalistic aspects of the art, the line, color, shape, and texture. Shields is known for making his work out of just about anything. His work ranged from deconstructed canvas pieces, which took art off the wall, to sewn pieces influenced by his grandmother's quilting, to brilliantly colored prints, to airy sculptures made out of beads, to mixed media pieces, and they all challenged the boundary between art and craft. Perhaps stemming from his engineering background and influenced by the work of Buckminster Fuller, the famous architect, the grid plays a very, very important part in Alan Shields' work. From his early work, which was made at canvas strapping that was painted and set up in grids, to the beloved Kansas meatball, which hangs in the Beach Museum of Art, an icosahedron made of aluminum tubing with painted canvas sleeves. The grid really shows up in almost everything he does. An avid fisherman, the sea, fishhooks, and worms also feature in his work. The Beach Museum of Art hosted Alan Shields' survey with an accompanying publication in 1999. Additional handmade paperworks were on display as part of the Dieudonné Rags to Riches exhibition in 2002. Sales of his print Martian Worm Village from 1996 formed the base of a fund to purchase contemporary prints for the museum. And the museum's collection features work from his time as a student at K-State until his passing in December 2005 on Shelter Island. Uncle Ferdinand's Voyage, or Route, is actually part of a series called the Raggedy Circumnavigation series, which was produced in 1984 and 85 at Tyler Graphics in Bedford, New York. There were 7 other routes: the Trade Route, Josh's Route, Home Route, Polar Route, Rain Dance Route, and Equatorial Route. The process of making these pieces is quite complicated, and there were as many as 14 printing matrix, 18 kinds of handmade paper, stitching and collage, and each piece has 2 to 5 layers. It all starts out with paper pulp, a circular decal with a heavy pattern screen, which creates a embossed grid, would be for 1 layer, and that would be in a round decal. A round metal frame would be dipped that had a string of sort of like a spider web, and it would be dipped into the paper pulp several times to accumulate paper, and then couched or pressed to form a layer with holes. Kozo paper, a special Japanese paper, was sprayed into star-like shapes. Then these layers would have extra colored pulp or pulp with glitter. They could be printed. And in the case of our piece, a star pattern is printed with the circular blocks, which you see on the right. The grid pattern is added at the end at the very top. So looking at some close-up pieces, you can see the bottom layers, and you can see the pattern, the embossed pattern of the grid in these bottom layers. And then on top of that, you can see the spider web layer, as I call it, which is, you can see the fine threads in it, and then the paper would attach to the threads and then be pressed. The star layer would be made of a single layer of paper, and then it would have been printed with those round printing blocks. And you can see in this case that one side had the color, and then the back side had some of the color coming through. And then over the top of everything is the grid pattern, the woodblock print. So as we look again at the piece, we can see the round layer with the embossing, the spider web layer, and then that final star-shaped layer, which has some of the star tips turned over. So 3 layers for this piece. I just wanted to end with a quote from Kenneth Tyler of Tyler Graphics. "The butterfly emergence of the works, which began primarily in threads and white paper, is striking. The finished prints show as many as 41 different colors. They flutter along interwoven patterns, layered papers, and stitched lines. Shield's Circumnavigation series gives a dizzying look at the wonders of printmaking." Thank you for joining me.